Hello makeup friends and welcome back to the channel, or if you're new here then hello and welcome. My name is Kara and a few weeks ago I posted a video selecting items for my daily makeup basket. Most of these were in there, although I don't think all of them were. At any rate, these are some of the items that I was paying particular attention to over the last few weeks, and I wanted to share my thoughts with you on these ones before I show you what items I have culled from my collection for the next few weeks. So over here we've got from Guerlain, these are some of their meteorites. This one is the Gold Pearls version. And although they look like they're going to be quite bronzy, they really aren't. And although they do look like they might have a high amount of shimmer in there, once you apply it and blend it in, it really just makes your skin look healthy and glowy without looking super glittery. I am a big fan of these. I have gone through an entire container of the meteorites before in a different version, a more mattified version than this, but I am enjoying the glow that this brings, and I am quite glad to have got some use out of these because they've been sitting in my drawer for ages. I'm not going to leave them in the makeup basket for right now, but I am looking forward to bringing them back out in the near future. And then we have some base products. So over here we've got a concealer from Revlon. This is the Flex Wear Full Cover Concealer. This is in the shade Light. And this has actually earned a spot in my favorites. So this is a concealer that I have thoroughly been enjoying. The full cover claim holds up. This does offer excellent coverage. It looks nice and fresh under my eyes all day. I can set it with a powder and it doesn't dry it out. I can leave it without powder and it doesn't move around or crease. I've been consistently impressed with this concealer. It's just got a regular standard doe foot applicator to it. The only thing that I kind of slightly dislike about this product is just the packaging. The lid is just a little bit bigger than the tube, so there's a bit of a sharp ridge. Not enough to like cut you, but enough that I can feel it. There, you can hear the difference there. It's not a big deal at all. Obviously does not impact the product itself, but from a packaging perspective, it's not, anything. It's not going to win any awards anytime soon, we'll put it that way, but the product itself is stellar. And then I did recently pick up these two foundation adjacent products. So let's start with this one. This is from CoverGirl, the Simply Ageless Skin Perfector Essence. This one is in the shade Light, and as you can see, it's just little tiny balls of pigment suspended in, I don't know, water, it's thicker than water. I'm not entirely sure what that consistency is that it's put in there, but when you pump it out, it is just little tiny balls of pigment, and then as you blend it, all that pigment sort of moves around. This is a very lightweight product. It doesn't offer much at all in the way of coverage, although I do find that this one is a little bit light for my skin, and I can see a bit of a pale cast left behind. So there is definitely pigment to it, it's just not a high coverage product. It does have a nice glow to it, again, without being glittery or without looking greasy. I have to say though that if I'm just looking for really light coverage that's really just looking at improving what my skin looks like, this is the one that I prefer. This is from Maybelline, the Instant Age Rewind Perfector 4-in-1 Glow Makeup, also in the shade Light. I just prefer the way this feels on the skin. I prefer the finish to it. It's an easier product to blend out than this one, and the shade on this one just matches a little bit better than the CoverGirl does. I don't dislike the CoverGirl. I will continue to use it, but it's just not going to reach the top echelon, if you will. It's definitely not a favorite of mine. And then we have the Laura Mercier foundation. This is the one that is catching a lot of attention recently. This is the Real Flawless Weightless Perfecting Foundation. And I have to say that I like it, but I don't love it. I know people are going crazy over this foundation, and I can sort of understand why. It does offer a good amount of coverage, although it is very lightweight and it does blend out quite nicely. This one I have in the shade Macadamia. My problem with it is that it just doesn't apply evenly all over my face. I'll insert a picture of what it does to my nose. For some reason, this product just does not like my nose and it will not blend properly over it. And by the end of the day, it is even more separated than it is at the beginning. So not super in love with that. I'm curious to see how this works for me, particularly on my nose once winter is over. I do have a bit of dryness there. There is a little bit of flaking, and this tends to collect on those flaky spots. So if you have very dry skin, before you shell out the money for this, I would definitely recommend getting a sample of it. You can go to Sephora and just ask them for it, and they'll put it into a little container for you. And just give it a try, because it doesn't seem to do great things for the dry areas on my face. It just tends to make them look that much drier. So although I do see some aspects of it that I really like, I think this might be more of a spring and summer foundation for me rather than winter. And then I picked up one of the lip oils from e.l.f. This one is in the shade Coral Fixation. Honestly, I'm not entirely sure that the colors really make much of a difference because it is a very, very sheer product and you really don't see much of a hint at all of that color that's in there. As you can see, it's very, very sheer. This does have a very slight mint smell to it, but there is no cooling sensation on my lips. It doesn't claim to be plumping or anything of that sort, so I think that just might be the scent of the ingredients possibly, but I just wanted to make note that there is a little bit of a fragrance to it, although it's not overly heavy-handed. In terms of my experience with this product, it's your standard lip oil. There's really nothing to write home about. It's not particularly memorable on either side, so it's not something that I dislike, it's not something that I love. It's functional. I can throw it in my purse and just top up my lips as I go throughout the day. If anything, it just helps to make them feel a little bit more moisturized, but it's just sort of a run-of-the-mill lip oil with nothing fancy about it. So for this go-round of picking my daily makeup items, I've decided to just show you what I ultimately picked rather than going through all the drawers with you. I'll probably try to shake that up from video to video just so it doesn't get dry and boring. So here is going to be the top drawer of my daily makeup basket, if you will. And I've got my base products in here as well as some eyeshadow products. So in looking at this, I do want to add one more concealer, and in fact it is going to be the Revlon concealer because I have been loving it. So starting off with primer, I've got the Dior Backstage Primer. This is very much more like a moisturizer than anything else. It's very neutral in the sense that it doesn't mattify, nor does it add any sort of glow, so it really just acts almost like a moisturizer, but it helps foundation to apply very evenly over top of it. I've also happened to have this one the longest out of all of my primers, so it's time to give it some dedicated love. And then for foundations, I brought out two options. So on the one hand, we have the Beauty Blender Bounce Skin Tint. This one I have in the shade Light 4. And then I've also got the Lisa Eldridge Seamless Skin Foundation, which I have in shade 6. This one offers more coverage than the Beauty Blender. The Beauty Blender one is great for sort of everyday wear, which is why I've brought it out. No muss, no fuss first thing in the morning, but in case I do want a higher coverage option, that's why I've included this one. So then with the concealer, I've already mentioned the Revlon, but I've also brought out one from Dior. This is the Forever Skin Correct, which I have in 2N, another much loved concealer in my collection. For brows, I'm going to give my Benefit Gimme Brow a rest, and I'm bringing the NYX Brow Glue back out. I only have two, and then I have one clear brow gel, which I'm not super in love with, so I'm just sort of rotating between the NYX and the Benefit at this point. To set my base products into place, I have this sample here from Hourglass. This is the translucent veil. There's quite a bit of product in there, so I don't anticipate finishing it up anytime soon, but I did want to give it some dedicated love because I have been ignoring this one for quite some time. But I also do enjoy a nice setting powder, so for that one I've brought out this here from NARS. This is the Translucent Crystal Light Reflecting Setting Powder, and this is a pressed powder. I do enjoy putting a lip balm on as I'm doing the rest of my makeup so that by the time I get to lipstick, my lips are nice and hydrated. So for this go round, I've picked up this one here from Kaleidos. There's nothing super fancy about it, but it does help to moisturize my lips. It's not one that I would rely on as an overnight lip treatment, but for my purposes, it definitely works. And then I've brought out a bunch of single eyeshadows because these are things that are criminally underused in my collection. So I've got one here from Vive. This is an eyeshadow stick, and this is in the shade Hazelnut. I really like this as a base or even just on its own. It just adds a little bit of pigmentation to my lids without being over the top, so it's great for like low makeup days. But if I want to beef it up and add something with a little bit of sparkle, I have brought options. So I have two here from Danessa Myricks. These are some of the Color Fix creams that she has. On the one hand, we have Ballerina, and then over here we have Goldmine. These last all day on the lids. There's no glitter fallout with them. There's no creasing or bunching up. They are workhorse products and they last all day. As well, I've brought out this stick shadow here from KVD Beauty. This one is in Heat Burst, and I just wanted to have an actual colorful option, so there's that. Now, I've mentioned before in videos, I do not enjoy dragging this across my lid. I would much prefer to use a brush to pick it up because they are quite delicate and can crumble quite a bit. Then I've also brought out this one here from Victoria Beckham. I've just finished watching the Beckham docu-series on Netflix and have reignited my love for both of them. I love David and Victoria. I just truly do. I'm not much of like a celebrity person, but I like them. And so it reminded me that I have this product. This is in the shade Blonde, and this is one of the lid lusters from Victoria Beckham. So I thought that I would bring that one out. If you've tried any of her other products, let me know what your thoughts on them are because I'm curious about her lip products as well as her eye pencils. My beloved Makeup Geek brown eye pencil is on its very last legs and I am in the market for a replacement. Then finally for eyeshadow options, this is another from Danessa Myricks. These are the Infinite Chrome Flakes and these ones are in the shade Moonlight. They are beautiful. And then in the second drawer, I've got some eyeshadow palettes and then the rest of my cheek products. So let's finish up the cheek products. For bronzer, I've brought out my Charlotte Tilbury bronzer. This one is in the shade 2 Medium. It is a giant pan. This is a very flat, sort of matte bronzer, but the shade actually works really nicely for me. So I haven't used this one in a while and I thought that I would give it some attention. Likewise, this cheek palette here from NARS I have not used in quite some time. This is the Afterglow cheek palette and there are 6 different options in there, including a highlighter option. So I kind of have the entire spectrum there between very light and very bold blush options. I also brought out a cream blush. This one is sort of like a burnt apricot kind of shade, which I find very flattering, particularly this time of year. So this one is in the shade Stutter, and I just wanted to have that option. And then for highlighter, I've brought this one out from Stila. This is the Heaven's Hue highlighter in Kitten. I have had this for a very long time, and it continues to be a favorite. It's such a silky, smooth finish, and it is a beautiful highlighter that never really looks like makeup. It just melds in really beautifully to the skin and just adds that glow without, like I said, looking like makeup. And then I've brought out two eyeshadow palettes to complement the single shadows that I have going on. So here we have the Supreme Nudes Quickie palette from Artist Couture, and there are quite a few matte options in there. Of course, there are some shimmers as well, but I wanted to have that range of matte options to work with the single shadows. And then specifically to complement Ballerina from Danessa Myricks and the red eyeshadow stick from KVD, I've brought out the Just Peachy Mattes palette. So there are the shades in there. I mean, this has been around forever, but I thought I'd refresh your memory anyways. So again, we have a lot of those warm tones. I can wear this just on its own, or if I want to add something with a bit of shimmer, I can reach in and grab one of the single shadows. And I thought that these would just be nice complementary shades to the singles that I've selected. And then finally, I just have a little container where I keep my daily use items. So I've got my Bite Upswing mascara that I'm continuing to work on, the two liquid eyeliners that I use all of the time. These are both from Clinique. I have one in black and one in dark brown. And then this is my last little nubbin of my Makeup Geek brown pencil liner, and I cannot sharpen it anymore. It goes into the sharpener and I can still turn it, but it doesn't, like the blade doesn't catch on it. So once this is done, it is done. That is the end of an era. And then I had this in for the last time I chose daily makeup products, and I never got around to using it. This is the Maybelline Master Precise liquid liner in blue. Now it says cobalt, but it does not look particularly cobalty, more turquoise. I'm a little nervous about it because it seems like a very wet liner and I can see it feathering already. So this is one, I think I just need to play with it, and like it wipes off to be very, very sheer. So we'll see. I don't think I want to risk this one before work. I just want to play with it one day and just see if it's actually workable and worth keeping. And then I do find it very, very difficult to pick out my lipstick in advance, so I've decided not to do that this time, but I have brought one out as an item of focus. So this is from Wander Beauty. It's the Lip Retreat Oil in Skinny Dip, and the only reason I brought it out is because there's very little of it left. At least I think there's very little of it left. I've used the heck out of this and I've had it for quite some time, so I want to keep using it, try to finish it up if at all possible, although I know I'm not going to finish it up in the next couple of weeks, so this is like a long-term goal. So there we have it. Everything is housed in these two drawers here, and those are the items that I will be reaching for primarily for the next few weeks. I'd love to hear from you in the comments if you have any staple items that you use on a daily basis. Let me know what they are. Otherwise, thank you so much for taking the time to watch, and I will see you in my next video. Until then, just be a decent human being. Bye!